One thing that people don't realize is that 70% of the assets of the NSSF are now managed by external investment managers. So that is a very big step. Of the 20% that is invested in property, all of that is also managed by external property managers. So there's been a huge shift, a huge improvement in the governance of the NSSF. But I really feel, look, we cannot keep on judging an institution by its history. And again, I don't think this is about the NSSF at all. It should be about what sort of retirement system or pension system is best for the country, and what role should NSSF play, and what role should other providers play. Now, to the point that Mr. Keeley made earlier about that if you have your own pension scheme, you should be able to fully opt out. And what I want to say is that the NSSF Act of 2013 actually provided a substantial opt-out. So most of the benefits would come through your own scheme. If you are able to set up a scheme that provides the same or better benefits, you can substantially opt out of the NSSF. So I believe there's a need for more understanding of the provisions of the Act so that we can give Kenyans this retirement security that they need. Because the point I want to make, Julians and the team, is that, look, as Kenyans, we are sleepwalking to disaster, right? The likelihood is that most Kenyans are either going to see a substantial drop in their standard of living in retirement because of insufficient savings, or for the vast informal sector, the 15 million Kenyans who make up 85% of our workforce and have near zero savings, they will be forced to live their old age over an extended period of time in poverty. And there are things and solutions that we have that we must think about implementing.
Okay.
Now, let me just give you another context that currently we are a young country and there's only 2 million Kenyans above the age of 60. But in the next 20 years, we will be more than 9 million Kenyans above the age of 60. And the cost of just providing them with a very simple basic stipend would be 334 billion shillings in today's money terms. And this is more than 50% of the government's wage bill.
Okay.
And if you add the 100 billion shillings that the government has to pay for the unfunded public service scheme every year, it's simply not going to be a viable option. We need to say to Kenyans that self-help and thrift are the only way. We need to take personal responsibility and we need to provide them with those solutions. And yes, those solutions are there. The ability to be able to open a pension account digitally is there. The ability to send and remit amounts of money, very small amounts of money, receive your benefit statement at any time, withdraw your money whenever you need to, are there.
Yes.
And as a country, we've made a huge amount of progress in terms of digital financial inclusion.
Okay.
And I think we have all the ingredients to achieve this on the pension space in the country.
Sandeep, you've raised some very pertinent issues which I'll be coming back to, especially the subject of asset allocation in the pensions industry. But let me just cross over to Jane and to the subject we were discussing before we brought Sandeep back in, the issue of the Tax Laws Amendment Act and regarding the ability to access up to 40% of your accrued benefits for home purchase. What do you think about this provision in the new regulations? Jane, if you can hear me, I'm asking you for your thoughts regarding the amendment to the RBA Act.
Yes.
Yeah, for this issue of accessing 40% of your accrued benefits for purchase of a house. What are your thoughts around this?
Julian, maybe for this one, alluding to what Mr. Zomo has talked about, I would maybe prefer, because we have done quite a number of proposals that are at RBA for consideration, maybe I don't give the comments and probably await the consolidation of the issues.
I see, and that's a fair point you are raising. But maybe to cross over to Hosea on the same issue. Hosea, what are your thoughts regarding this provision? And of course, Mr. Nzoma Mutuku has highlighted that there are a few things which are still being worked out in terms of how this will be implemented.
Yeah, I think this is a very big step to creating the pate to attract Kenyans to pension. You know, pension is a very boring issue because it's an issue which nobody really talks about until when the time comes to retire. Pension funds also, being long-term funds, is a very good asset put together to help the government do a lot of infrastructure and other developmental needs. There ought to be more tax exemptions granted to people to encourage them to save. So by allowing the pension members or its scheme members to access in their lifetime, when they are still strong and alive, 40% of their savings to buy a home, that is actually what we consider to be a retirement benefit given already to a member in advance. And therefore will encourage more. I think the industry will grow faster that way. The second issue is that we also need to look at an additional amendment to request the government to put in place. This is to remove the element of taxation brackets being higher for those who want to save more. We find that if you want to save more than 20,000 per month, you will be taxed immediately. But when you save less than 20,000, you will be taxed zero. Now, what message are we sending to people who want to save more? We are telling them that don't save. So we are restricting the supply side of money into the pension schemes and then making people be discouraged. So we need to look at that one also to encourage more money. After all, when the money comes in, the government can borrow and actually use it for investments in the industry. Now, so what I would like to say is that opening 40% is a beginning. I am advocating for a model which is in Singapore, where you have 3 accounts in Singapore for members of the pension scheme. It's a very successful model. One portion of the money in account will go to retirement, old age retirement. The second portion will go to saving for a house. Mm-hmm. The third portion of the money will go to other things like insurance, for medical and life insurance and so forth, and even education for your children. Now, if we approach pensions in the manner like that one, we are going to get Kenyans to take a serious interest in pension saving. For example, the RBA Act now allows schemes members to actually do what we call post-retirement medical fund arrangement. Yes. We then, if you combine the money which is supposed to be going to NHIF directly, it can come from the pension schemes so that you are able to have what you can call a pre-retirement and a post-retirement medical fund which members can enjoy when they retire. You can imagine that when you retire in Sombogo, you don't have any money when you retire for your medical fee services. Yeah. So we need to take care of all these things. And therefore, when you do that kind of bundling of benefits, you are actually creating more attraction for the public to come to pension schemes. Okay. And crossing over to Sandeep, something that Jose has mentioned is that we need more tax exemptions. I'm just curious to know, if you look at the Tax Laws Amendment Act, one of the detail inside there is that we should remove the NSSF from the income tax exemption. How do you think this will impact the industry?
Well, I think it's very unfortunate that the finance bill has reintroduced this provision of taxing the investment income of the NSSF. It was there in the original Tax Laws Amendment Bill that was put to Parliament, and I'm really happy that the National Assembly rejected it then, and I'm hoping that they do so again, because, look, NSSF is the largest retirement fund in the country. To tax its investment income would deal a very severe jolt to long-term savings in this country. And it's also unfair and discriminatory, because if NSSF is a provider in the industry and if its investment income is being taxed, I mean, it puts it into a very unfair state. Now, I think one reason is that the government feels that, look, this is a fund that's worth 250 billion shillings. But if you look at the 250 billion shillings, it is spread across 6 million Kenyans. And the average amount in members' accounts is only about 150 to 200,000 shillings. And to tax that would even further reduce the benefits, the inadequate benefits that are currently provided by the NSSF. So I'm really hoping that the policymakers will see sense and that this will be rejected on the floor of the House.
Thank you. And that point by Sandeep takes us to our second break. We'll be coming back with more thoughts from the panelists on that particular issue. Don't go too far.